Hello class, it's been a while since I've seen you. Welcome back, and this is the next video. How can we graph and write equations of a line given perpendicular or parallel? Remember, if I ever write this, I mean perpendicular, and if I ever write something like that, I mean parallel. So, just as a review, parallel means that the two slopes are the same. So the slope of line 1 and slope of line 2 are equal to each other, and it looks something like this. Let me go over it in blue. And perpendicular means that the slope is negative and the inverse of the other one. Remember, it's two things, negative and the inverse, and that looks something like this. Oops, that's a bad line. Pretend like that's something like that, and they form a right angle. So on to the first example. Just a heads up, this video is going to be super tedious and all about just pretty much doing the math. But I'm going to try my hardest to make it a little bit fun at least and get some breaks in between. So for example, write an equation of a line that passes through the point negative 2, 3 and is a parallel. So I'm actually going to show my work over here. I'm going to say A. This one's going to be parallel. And B, perpendicular. Perpendicular. Alright, I'm going to show my work, well actually I'm not done, to the line of this. So I wrote, as you can probably already tell, I wrote it in two different columns because in one side I'm going to show you how to do the parallel side, and the other side I'm going to show you how to do the perpendicular side. This is just to keep us a little bit organized. So while we do that, let me zoom out, because there's going to be a lot of work today. So let's start off with parallel. For a line to be parallel, remember you want the slopes to be the same. In this case, we have the equation y equals negative 4, x plus 1. So if we want a line that is parallel to this one, we know that our m2 is going to be negative 4. So the slope of this new equation we're going to look at has to be negative 4. Now, if you remember from the videos before, we're pretty much given this, and the point that we're given is from up here, negative 2, 3. I'm sure y'all know what I'm going to do next already, because most of you already saw this, but just to give you an idea, in case you haven't guessed it already, we're going to use point slope form. Remember, we're given a point, we're given a point and we're given a slope, so we're going to use point slope form, and as a reminder, point slope form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So what I have to do is plug it in. So let me write down the skeleton first. Y minus something equals m, oops, sorry, let me erase that, equals the slope times x minus something. What's our y1? Our y1 is up here. What is our slope? Our slope, remember, it's parallel, so it's also negative 4. What is our x1? x1 is right there, so it's negative 2. So let's keep on simplifying. Y minus 3 equals, I see something I could do first. This right here, let's fix that first. Negative 4 times x plus 2. Remember, negative minus a negative is a positive. So now I'm going to distribute. Y minus 3 equals negative 4x minus 8. Remember, negative 4 times x is negative 4. Negative 4 times positive 2 is negative 8. And we could leave it here if you really, really wanted to, but this isn't good enough, because y'all can do better. You always want to write it in slope-intercept form. So add 3, y equals negative 4x minus 5. Negative 8 plus 3 is minus 5. Put a box around it. Put a cloud around it. Put whatever you want to do around it. Make it obvious that that's your answer. So that's your answer for the first one. So again, let's review what we did for this one. First, we know that the slope, if it's going to be parallel, also has to be negative 4. We're given a point. Since we're given a point and a slope, we use point slope form. Then we keep going. We substitute. Simplify, simplify, simplify. Simplify a little bit more. And then put a big box and flowers and suns and everything around your answer. So let's go on to the next one. We did one, right? And put a big nice check mark around that. We still have the perpendicular. So let's look at that. For perpendicular, m1 equals negative inverse. So, just like before, we have this equation, negative 4x plus 1, because we're giving it to us, it's given to us. If we want to come up with something that's perpendicular to that, let's take a closer look at this part right here. If it's perpendicular, let's say m1 equals negative 4, then m2, this new line that we're going to create, has to be negative, so it's going to be positive, and it has to be the inverse, so you flip it. Positive 1 over 4. So this is, let me make a little cloud over that. This is the slope we're going to use. Before we used negative 4 because it was parallel. Now we're doing the perpendicular one. So let me go down a little bit more. Remember our point is still the same. Negative 2, comma 3. And just like before, we want to use point slope form because we are given a point and we're given a slope. Point, slope, point, slope, point, slope, point, slope form. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Let me write down the skeleton. So what's my y1? It's 3. What is my slope? Slope is positive 1 over 4, so you could just write 1 over 4. What is my x1? x1 is negative 2. And you probably already saw this, but just like before, let me just go down a little bit. Let's simplify this. Y minus 3 equals 1 over 4 times this part right here becomes positive x plus 2. Oh my god, we have fractions, so this is going to get a little complicated. Make sure you pay attention. Y minus 3 equals distributed into the first. 1/4 times 1x is just 1 over 4 x. Some people may write it as, let me erase this, like this. Yes, that's true, but I would prefer it if you just wrote it like we had it before. So let me change it back now. Erase, 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 erase. Why do I do that? I do that mainly because I like writing the variables to this on the side of it. It just looks nicer. But anyways, let's keep going. Distribute over here. So let me actually scoot over a little bit more. Remember, here we have 1/4 times 2, which can also be 1 over 4 times 2 over 1. To multiply, you go straight across. 1 times 2 is 2. Over 4 times 1 is 4, which you can also simplify to 1/2. So over here you get plus 1/2. Now keep going a little bit more. Again, side notes. Let's go down a little bit. I told you this is going to be a long one. So you add 3, you get y equals 1 over 4x plus, now we got to deal with adding fractions. Remember, when you add fractions, you want to have a common denominator. So you can multiply, you can actually write 3 as 6 over 2, because remember you multiply by 2. Now how do you add that? You add straight across. 6 plus 1 is 7, and then the bottom stays the same. So plus 7 over 2. Just like we did before, square it, circles around it, spikes, whatever you want to do. Those are your two answers. So here's all this wonderful work. Make sure you copy this down in your notes. And just to review, remember step 1 is finding the slope. If you have a parallel line, you want to have m1 equals m2. If you want to find it for a perpendicular, remember it has to be the negative reciprocal of what we are given. And then use point slope, which is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And the point, it's actually always going to be given to you. Substitute the point and the slope, which is pretty much just when we did something like y minus 3 or something like that equals, I think I said 4 times x minus 6. Whatever your point is. You get the point. Substitute. Step 4, simplify. That was what we spent most of the time on, making it easier. And then step 5, writing it in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. So go ahead and try the classwork. I'm sorry again for this being such a long and tedious video, but I promise you that after a few examples, you'll be super good at this and you'll be able to even teach a whole class about this.